Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Quest Nutrition. Visit questnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, your host, and tonight's guest is our 2016 NPC Men's National Bodybuilding Overall Champion, Shaun Vasquez. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
What a title that is. I know Chris Aceto interviewed you after the show because I had to leave a little early, and he told you, reminded you that you're up there now in the annals with the Kevin Lavronis and the Lee Haneys, and you are an overall national champion. No one will ever forget that. That's got to be a huge accolade for you, especially coming from that heavyweight class.
Yeah, it really is. It hasn't set in. I'm sure it'll take some time to set in. With names like that, I'm still a kind of a kid in a candy shop looking up to guys like that. So it's definitely I'm at a loss for words, and I'm excited and grateful for the opportunity. And hopefully I can transition over and do some good stuff in the 212 class in some time to come.
Now, let's call it like it is. The show was not the strongest national championships we've ever seen, especially in the heavyweight and the super heavyweight class, which is usually the classes we get our overall winners from. There was a lot of shuffling around. There was a lot of rejudging. Were you a little nervous after prejudging in terms of winning your class, or at least getting that one of the top two spots, which were going to be required or to get your pro card?
I didn't really have too much pressure going into the show. I didn't have, I wouldn't say I didn't have high expectations of myself, but I just wanted to bring the best package that I could to date and see where that kind of lined up with everyone else. And I agree with you as far as the level of competition. It seems to go up and down from year to year. But to be honest with you, that's kind of I've been one of those guys that I've beaten guys that are 20 pounds heavier than me, bigger than me, bigger body parts here and there. Since I started competing, I've always beaten guys like that because they just didn't show up, and I can't control what they do and or don't do. But I think that was the story here as well. I tried to show up at my best, but as far as being nervous, I was more excited than anything else. Then to be in the top call out, just wanted to make sure that I came back better for the night show. I had a feeling that it was pretty close, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't leave any room for error as far as myself was concerned, and I couldn't really control what everybody else was going to be doing at the time.
Talk to me a little bit about, you in 2014 you placed as high as 4th at the USA as a light heavyweight. The following year you dropped to 10th as a light heavyweight. And you decided to move up to the heavyweight class this year. Whose idea was that? What prompted the move? Did you feel that you couldn't improve anymore in that light heavyweight category?
I felt that, usually when I get around 205, 206 pounds, we were chasing kind of a number, chasing the scale. And the past 2 years, I felt that my better look, a more fresh look, was right around that weight. And we wanted to, get down. And I know some guys do it, and maybe because I haven't been competing that long, my experience is not where it needs to be able to bring that physique back to life, so to speak. And so I just felt that the lower that number got, the worse that I looked. And so this time, that's when things kind of changed. I made sure that I didn't, and I don't mind suffering. See, I hurt a little bit. I've always done that. It's always been a bit of a grind, but try to look at the mirror more than the scale than anything else, and not deteriorate the tissue or the physique or the look, so that when it did come to life on stage, it wasn't again where it was the past 2 years. And then again, I'm not a big guy, so if I lose that pop, I lose any of that, then I'm going to lose to guys that are ultimately a lot better than me as it is anyways.
I think it was a good decision, I have to say. I think that when your body is growing and you're making improvements, sometimes holding it back or trying to go in the negative direction is not the best solution. And I think that, look, if you're going to be a successful pro, you need to compete at 212 anyway. So why purposely restrict your body weight? And I think that it was a wise decision. I've seen it happen before on guys where they've gone up in weight and they wind up turning pro, And meanwhile, for the 5 years before that, they were trying to suck down to the light heavyweight class or whatever class they happened to be coming down to. When they rejudged your class at that night show, were you confused by that call?
They worked us so hard in prejudging. I wasn't too confused by it. It didn't surprise me. I've seen it happen before at that level. I mean, and quite frankly, I don't have a problem with it as far as personally, because it seems maybe they were looking at us a little bit more closely. They wanted to solidify their choice. All I know is that between prejudging and the night show, I was watching my physique every hour on the hour, tracking, monitoring everything and how I looked, where my weight was, if I needed to eat a little more fluid or whatnot. And I was actually very confident in that what I brought to the night show, the finals, was much better than what I did in the morning for prejudging. So I was excited and confident and ready to go.
I think you looked a lot better at the night show, and I think that's what won the overall for you. When you went out there for that overall, did you say to yourself, I got a shot at winning this?
Man, I've been watching Dorian for a while, and he's a big guy. I knew that my conditioning and I felt a little more polished, but he was pretty aggressive out there, and even the middleweight or the light heavyweight would look pretty good as well. But to be honest, I was just riding that momentum of where I was and what I had just done, and it all happened so fast that I really didn't give it too much thought as to whether or not I had a really good opportunity, a really good chance, or if I didn't. I just was still riding that wave of being excited that, hey, I just got my pro card, and now we're going for the overall.
This is going back a long. This tells you how long ago I've been competing. In '95, at the Junior Nationals, I lost the overall. I think I weighed 258 pounds. I lost to 198-pound Willie Stalling, who then went on the following year at the '96 Nationals to win the overall against Jay Cutler, who was the heavyweight champion. So a lot of people don't realize that, that Willie Stalling, and he kind of reminds me of your physique a lot. He had great conditioning, good presentation, nice shape, and he just outclassed these guys. And I think that you came in, I mean, obviously you're not a light heavy, but you were a smaller heavyweight, and you dominated, that overall, and you went home as the deserved winner. I looked at the pictures, we all evaluated everything, and you certainly were absolutely the right choice on that night. Obviously, that puts a lot of pressure on you now moving forward into the pros. Where do you go from here? I mean, you're already at that 212 mark. Do you jump into a 212 show, or do you try to put on more size and go for the open category?
One of the first guys that I work with, he told me that don't chase that size game. You're not going to be a big guy. You got the shape and things like that. So I don't think I'll chase that. At least that's the where I'm going, where I'm leaning toward now. The 212 is where I want to be out. I weighed in at their scale at 218. My scale was around 214, and then my scale, I was on stage about 212, 211 for the finals. So I think that I could probably, I know some of the bigger guys do it. Their weight's probably around 220 or so, and then they make weight. I think with more experience, I'd be able to pull that off, and I think it would hold me accountable to what I think you see a little bit more in the 212 classes. Those guys got to get into shape, and that's what I like to, obviously come with, and to make that weight, and just bring up some lagging body parts and to fill some gaps where I feel I need them, and go for the 212. I've always been a fan of that class when they introduced it as 202 and be competitive, because I want to be competitive. That's where I think that I'm going to go ahead and shoot for it in the time to come.
Have you thought about a pro debut yet? Like what show you might want to, pick in 2017?
My wife and I did talk about that after the fact. All the questions everybody's asking and whatnot. And Dallas is here. I live in Dallas, and Dallas Europa is down the road. I'm sorry, my printer is going crazy. And but not this year. A buddy of mine, Kevin Ofram, which I think you guys know, he reached out to me, and I think he was kind of encouraged me to go that route, and he's out here at Destination Dallas as well. But I'm thinking maybe the year after next, something along those lines, just because it's in my backyard, and then I have a lot of friends and family that would love to come out and support. So we'll see what I can do in between now and then, and give my body a little bit of a rest, and make a push to make some improvements, and then we'll take a look at it then.
Now, why would you take a whole year off and not compete?
That goes back to the thing that I talked to Chris about in the interview is balance. My wife and I have some business things that we're getting started, and I like to make sure that it's just not all bodybuilding. She sacrifices a lot for me to be able to do this, and I'm very grateful for that. And I try to make sure that she's given the opportunity and the time to do some things that she wants to do outside of this and outside of just supporting me, 24/7. And so it just really comes down to balance for me, and to be smart about it financially, health wise as well, and to take a step back and not rush my physique. Because I think I'm pretty short and 5'7". I can have an appearance of a small waist and vacuum and this, that, and the other. But if I push it, I don't want to get too blocky in the midsection as well. So I like to take my time with trying to put on a little bit of size and not get too crazy too fast. And so balance and that whole thing is where I'm kind of leaning towards.
That's almost impressive, dare I say, because most bodybuilders have no balance. It's all consuming, all me, all egotistical, all I got to do it now, and it's hard to take a step back like that because obviously you got a lot of momentum now, you got a lot of excitement after winning the Nationals, you got a lot of hype around yourself. To kind of go back into the shadows now is tougher from a emotional, maybe, and an intellectual standpoint, even though it might make sense. So I take my hat off to you that you're able to do that and you're mature enough to do that. So what do you do for a living on a regular basis? Tell our fans.
So, I handle all the sales in the accounts here in mainly Texas, but I have Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas, and then Texas is my territory. I have all the retailers, the brick and mortar mom-and-pop shops that I service as far as sales and through distribution, direct deals, and whatnot, but also GNCs and vitamin shops, and I'm just the face of the company out here. We got a lot of exciting and great things coming out. You're obviously very familiar with the market. So I just get out there and promote the product, the brand.
You mentioned the company name.
Nutrex Research.
I wanted to make sure people heard that.
I'm sorry?
I wanted to make sure that people heard the name of the company because I think you muffled it a little bit. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've been with them for going on over a year and a half, I believe, in the summer, about 2 years.
Well, that's cool. You get to work in the industry that you love, doing what you love, and I think that always makes for a successful career. And if you do what you love, it's like you don't even work, and that's admirable as well. How did you feel? I don't know if you saw the rest of the show, but the classic physique men's champion. I think you did a photo shoot with him, George Peterson. We just interviewed him. How do you think? What do you think of the differentiation between classic physique and men's bodybuilding is at this point? And is there a differentiation other than the fact that you need to make a weight class?
Well, the crazy thing about him, and I talked to him quite a bit, he used to be a heavyweight bodybuilder about 3 years ago. The guy weighed in at 107. I mean, we're the same height. He weighed in at 170-something pounds. And standing next to each other, I mean, his back looked like a 747. I was extremely impressed. And not only that, outside of his physique, he was a very polite guy. He's a real nice guy, well-spoken. I enjoyed my time, at the photo shoot with him. So, but as far as his physique, it's just, it's hard to, if you were comparing, let's say, me to him, it's hard because here I am a heavyweight, but I'm not a big heavyweight. And then, he's going to look very comparable in size, where if you have somebody like Dorian, you're going to see an obvious difference in the mass and the size. Even the aesthetics are really different as well. So I'm a fan of the division. I had given it some thought when it first came out, but I was 175 pounds my first show 6 years ago.
Only a guy with his shape could have made that weight class because you would have disappeared probably if you would have tried to diet down to 176.
They're just bubbly.
Yeah. Well, I'm honored to be interviewing you. I want to just congratulate you again on the big victory because it doesn't get much better than that, man. I'm jealous in a sense because I never was an overall national champion and not many guys out there were. So you're in an elite group. You've been immortalized in NPC bodybuilding history. And all I can say is enjoy the spoils of your victory, because it doesn't last very long. It's only 1 year long.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much for the interview and the words as well. I'm going to try to, I got the trophy over here, I'm going to try to enjoy it as much as I can and ride the wave, and then I'll go back to kind of grinding in the shadows, and you guys will probably see me maybe in a year and a half or so. Try to see if I can do a little bit, do some, I wouldn't say damage, but do good on a pro stage in the 212 division.
Looking forward to seeing you back on stage. Keep us updated on any updates you might have, and once again, congratulations on the big win.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for the interview.
That will take us to the end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Quest Nutrition. Visit questnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, and we'll see you next time.